Is the owner of Wilkes grocery store in Elkader, Iowa. His store has been in business since 1867 and currently provides income for his family and 20 employees that work for him. And Mr. Wilke, the last time we spoke, we were standing in your grocery store. This is a photo of Elkader at the height of the flooding. And if I'm remembering this correctly, this is where your store is located, right across from the fire station and across from the bank. And to put this in perspective, Elkader is the little Cedar Rapids in Iowa, because they had almost the identical flood stage, almost the identical flood crest forecast, and both had epic flooding beyond their 500-year floodplain, 31 feet in Elkader, 32 feet in Cedar Rapids. And you can see the Turkey River and the devastation it caused the entire downtown. So we really appreciate your ability to come with us. We know, I've talked about your business many times and the impact that losing a grocery store, losing a convenience store, losing a bank has on a community the size of Elkader, and we look forward to your comments.
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to you today. And I do like you to look at that picture and look at the top. You see the bypass go by right there? That's a lot of Elkader's problem right there, is they built this bypass around town and they didn't put enough spots for the water to get out. And it actually gets worse. If the picture had wrapped around to the right further, the bypass goes around down to the right, and it's actually worse farther down to the right. So one of the first things we really need is to open up that water, just open it up more and put more culverts through or bridges through or whatever we need to, so when this type of thing happens again, it doesn't waste the whole town because of a bypass. When this had happened, there was a flood wall right alongside. If you look at that little building, well, actually it's this building right here. If you recognize that one, it's just in front of our grocery store. There was a flood wall that went from there up to the left off the screen, and because of this, that's been seriously damaged. So that's going to need repair. And I was told by people from the fire department that this building is actually leaning toward the river, and it's going to have to be replaced. And like you had mentioned, we do have a grocery store in town, and we had followed the river levels. What is this river level going to end up being? We were told it was going to be 23.5. We said that about 3 days in a row as a geological survey had said, give us those numbers. And it was from their website. And it went to 30.9. Well, our business, from where he just pointed, that's not even in the floodplain. But we ended up having substantial damage from it. So when the next morning was Tuesday, we had to quickly assess the damage, which was difficult because everything was still 4 feet underwater. As a family, make a determination on our course of action. And I appreciate you saying the length of time it takes for these loans, but we had to decide within hours. Are we going to walk away from this thing, or are we going to make the commitment and the financial commitment and the personnel commitment that we're going to try and go back into this? The business, like I said, had been in our family since 1867. It's just 2 years after Abraham Lincoln's presidency, we started selling groceries. We're the only supermarket within 15 miles. Our store is the only source of income for over 20 people. It's our family's only income. For these reasons, we decided to open doors and ask people to come in and help. What we did that first night was we basically went in with shovels. And we started shoveling out the water away from the front door because we knew the next morning people were going to come in to try and help us, and they weren't going to be able to do anything if we still had a bunch of water in. So we basically just went shovel after shovel, made a train of these shovels, trying to get the water basically out and filling the dumpster that we had out at the time. While the water was still up, I think if we got a picture here, this one is a picture this is our parking lot, okay? When we came down the next morning, the water had already dropped about 2 feet by this time. And we had to decided we were going to go back home, and I started making phone calls for people to come in and help. We were going to we called refrigeration people, electricians, and all kinds of people to make sure we were on their list. The local lumber yard and stuff, to make sure that, if we were going to do this thing, we were going to have to do it really fast. because we had to do it before we'd get any mold in the building or any mildew or any flood damage problems and stuff, because we're in there trying to sell something that has to be sold out of a sanitary environment. So we didn't have the luxury of sitting around for days and days waiting to see if we were going to get a loan or do something. We had to decide right now what we were going to do. We knew that this financial commitment would be way beyond our resources, but at the time believed FEMA or another agency had a program that would help. During the time of our cleanup, I attended 3 meetings that explained the procedures for attaining assistance. They were open to all flood victims, but oriented only to residential needs. When a FEMA representative came to the store, he had his handheld computer with him and started asking me questions. They were residential in nature. When I explained to him that it was our business that was damaged, not our home, he said, "Sorry, my computer is set up for housing questions," and he left. And then a little later, I got a rejection letter from them saying I didn't have enough damage to qualify. I went to a 4th meeting where FEMA had set up stations where flood victims could fill out forms. At the SBA station, I asked the representative, "At these meetings I've attended, they keep referring to a 4% or an 8% loan. How do I know which interest rate I will be getting?" His response was, "Would you qualify for a bank loan?" I said, "Yes." "Then you get the 8% loan." At that, I stopped filling out the forms. That was the ultimate insult to me. I had been a responsible citizen, taking care of the needs of our employees and our family, always paying our bills and taxes on time. Because of that positive ethic, I am given an interest rate double that of someone who is not fiscally responsible, a rate that is higher than any of the local banks charge at the time. Before I went to that meeting, I'd asked the bankers in town about it, and I could get a loan in the 6 range. So then I get this, assistance at 8%. I thought it was an insult. I've been asked many times by customers and vendors what assistance FEMA has given us, assuming we would have a package similar to the private residences. They were mostly shocked and some appalled that we were left out of the assistance. I was not personally expecting the government to cover all our family's losses, but I was expecting to be treated equally compared to the residential assistance offered. I also was expecting an interest rate and a period of time to pay that would soften the blow of our huge loss. Perhaps our loss will not end with the flood of 2008. Although we reopened the store on a smaller scale just 10 days after the flood receded, much to the credit of our community and volunteers.
Mr. Wilke, I'm going to have to interrupt you. Your entire statement will be part of the record and will be considered by the subcommittee. Thank you for your testimony.